It's time to cook with Susan Beck, and I'm here today to make another wonderful loaf of bread with you. I am basing my bread off the recipe in Artisan bread in 5 minutes a day. I made some light wheat bread that I posted last week out of this cookbook as well. And today's bread is going to be made with white flour and some cheddar cheese. And you could always add some jalapenos or some garlic or some other things to this if you want. But today I'm going to go with just the cheddar cheese. This is going to make 4 1-pound loaves. And that's what I liked about this book. I do things maybe a little bit differently. I really wouldn't call it, what did they say, in 5 minutes a day exactly. But I do like the bread recipes, and I do like how I can make a fresh loaf every night without having to start with the whole process of making bread. So today we're going to start by shredding our cheddar cheese. And I decided that I was going to shred this on the video because once again, I'm going to promote this little shredder that attaches to your KitchenAid mixer. I absolutely love this thing. It works great on hard cheeses and vegetables. If I'm making scalloped potatoes, I love how all my potatoes are really nice and thin, or if you want to make potato chips. All right, here goes. I'm going to collect it in this bowl. Look at that cheddar cheese fall out. I need 1 cup of cheddar, so I'm going to do just a little bit more. There's a little bit still inside here, so I'm just going to pop out the attachment piece. And there's the rest of my cheddar. A little piece that didn't shred, perfect for eating. Okay, so there's my cheddar that's going to go into this recipe in just a moment. Into my mixing bowl is going to go 1.5 tablespoons of sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of salt, and 1.5 tablespoons of instant yeast. I love this instant yeast. You don't have to get it to proof and mix with a certain temperature of water and hope that it activates and so forth. So I'm just going to kind of mix that all together, and I'm going to add in 3 cups of lukewarm water. You could just let your tap run for long enough that the water gets about as hot as it can get, or I just threw this in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes just to warm it a little bit. So I am going to put that warm water on top of my yeast, salt, and sugar. But I'm not going to worry about letting this sit a certain length that's easier to pour. I am going to add 6.5 cups of white flour. All-purpose flour is what I'm using for this. And then I'm going to put in 1 cup of cheddar cheese. It's probably a little more than a cup, but hey, who doesn't love cheddar cheese? And being the great old dairy state of Wisconsin, we love our cheese here. All right, and then I'm going to attach my dough hook and incorporate all of these ingredients together. Turn it on low to start with to keep the flour from flying everywhere, and then you can pick up the speed a little bit. So I have all this great sticky dough in here that we are just going to cover. Look at that, nice and sticky. We're just going to cover it with a towel and let it sit for 2 hours. We have some beautifully raised bread. It's filled all the way to the top of my mixing bowl here. So I am not going to bake the bread right now. Remember, this is going to make 4 different loaves on 4 different nights, and I don't even want to make any right now. So I'm just going to store it in a container that I can put into the refrigerator. You can use your hands, or I'm using one of these Danish dough hooks here. And that dough, we're just going to let it collapse, and then we're going to move it into a container that we don't want to seal tightly. That's kind of an important step here. We don't want to close it in. We want to give it some space to breathe. So I just found one of these little plastic containers. Works quite nicely. And I just set the lid on top. Notice I'm not punching it down and holding it in tightly. This bread is going to go into the refrigerator, and I can make 4 loaves anytime over the next 10 days. Well, it's time to take that cheddar bread dough that we've had in the refrigerator and turn it into a loaf of artisan bread. Artisan bread just means it's kind of more of a free-formed bread. So I have a cookie sheet here which has no rim. It makes it easy for it to slide off onto my pizza stone that I'm going to preheat in the oven shortly. All right, so a little bit of parchment, and then I either like some whole wheat flour or some cornmeal on there. just to prevent sticking a little bit. And that parchment paper will go right onto the baking stone as well. Now remember, this dough is supposed to be able to make us 4 loaves that are about 1 pound each. So I'm just gonna pull out a chunk of it. I've got enough in here to make 3 more loaves. These are just small little loaves. You can make them bigger if you want to, and it's got nice little texture from that cheddar cheese we put in. And that piece of dough is just gonna sit on here. I'm gonna put it back by my fire again, and I want it to sit for, like 40 minutes. So I'm gonna put it in a warm place. I'm gonna cover it. After 20 minutes, I am then going to stick my pizza stone into a 450-degree oven so that this gets piping hot for the following 20 minutes while my bread continues to rise. Again, don't seal this tight. Give it a little room to breathe. Just kind of lightly lay it on there and return the bread dough for the other 3 loaves to the refrigerator and use within 10 days. The bread is halfway through its rising stage, and I am going to put this pizza pan on the middle rack at 450 degrees. So for the next 20 to 25 minutes, it's getting really hot. My bottom rack is on the lowest level. I will be putting some water there that will create some steam and give our artisan bread a crunchy outside. Well, bread is risen. It doesn't rise a lot with this recipe or any of the recipes in this cookbook, but I have a smoking hot pizza pan here, and I just simply pull on the parchment paper and slide it off. That's why I wanted a rimless cookie sheet for raising my bread. Okay, the other step is to take a tray of water. A cake pan will work. I'm using my broiler pan. That goes underneath the bread, and my bread will now cook for 25 to 30 minutes, and it will get a nice crusty outside and a soft inside. All the water is gone in the pan that sat below our loaf. I like to move the loaf of bread to a cooling rack, or at least off of the hot pizza stone to cool for, 30 minutes is good. It will cut much better if you wait that long. So I just sliced some of this cheddar bread. And oh, what a beautiful texture this bread has. It's just nice and soft on the inside, but we got that nice crunchy outside that comes from steaming it, making it kind of like a French bread. Oh, and I've got that marbling of yellow where the cheddar's melted. This bread is fantastic. And I love this idea that I have 3 more loaves in the refrigerator that I can make over the next 10 days.